God is asking you to come home to such a tender part of you, like a part of you that was forgotten or left behind or pushed to the side because there were other things in your life that were more important. But I really feel so strongly that God is calling you home to your heart, to your softness, to your sanctity, to remember who you truly are. Forget the journey for a moment. Forget everything that you've been through that has led you here. And just realize how powerful this present moment in your body, in your mind, really is in connection to Divine Spirit. The truth that you are none of the things or experiences or memories that made you who you are, that created this you. All you are right now is this, is you. And I'm hearing you should be so proud of who you are. This world really tried to break you down into bite-sized pieces to make you more digestible, easier to access, more controlled. Because the uncontrolled version of you, the wild and free version of you, you move mountains. You move mountains. That is how powerful your frequency is in this world. The power that your voice has to heal, that your presence has to heal, to awaken, to ignite, to inspire. You're stepping forward out of the shadows. God is calling you to step forward out of the shadows because there are people who need exactly what you are, and not to take it. They just need to see it. They need to see that it's possible. They need to know that they are not alone in their fight, that they are not alone in this world. There are so many people who need to see the miracle that is your life, that is your story, who need to hear you speak about your story. You are going to break hearts wide open with what it is you have to say. You are going to ask people to really reveal themselves to you, and really reveal themselves, to self-reflect, to start asking more questions and becoming more curious about the way that they are showing up in the world, because they see the way that you are showing up in this world and they want to know more about what it is you do and how you do what you do, how it is you could possibly show up in this world in such a powerful, bright energy. God has a very special place, a very special role, and it asks you to rise. Rise from the ashes of your past life. Rise from the pressure and fear of being seen for everything that you truly are. I'm seeing jaws on the floor when you share your story. People wondering how that's even possible. You are going to be such a powerful voice for people who have felt their entire lives as if they didn't have one, or as if it was unsafe to reveal it, to reveal who they truly are. You are here to create that safe space first within yourself, and And then allow that to spread, overflow into the world around you. You have such special gifts inside of you. Gifts that the rest of the world probably made fun of at some point in your life. Probably overlooked or misunderstood. But who is truly meant for you will see you clearly. Clear as the stars in a night sky, no clouds to be seen. You are not just a star. You are an entire galaxy of stars that shine your light into this world. This world needs your light, needs exactly what you are. There is no greater time than right now to reveal yourself, to share your story. You don't need to wait. You don't need to have it all together. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to try, to explore, to become curious about what it will look like and feel like. This world is waiting for you, and it's not going anywhere. Not without you, not without first hearing what it is you have to say. You are going to move so many people into connection with themselves, into healing, into higher shifts in perspective, deeper trust within themselves. You have a very powerful aura. You move people and rooms and don't even realize it. You're like a butterfly who doesn't recognize its own wings, but they're there, and the rest of the world can see them. God is asking you to rise, to share your voice, to share your story, and trust. Trust the gentle unfolding of the path before you. This isn't about how hard you try or how much you do or what you achieve. This is about being so authentic and real that the rest of the world responds to you, not because it wants to be you, but because they want to know themselves the way that you have come to know yourself. That is how powerful your presence is. Thank you, angels. Thank you, God. And thank you for showing up every day and choosing love.
Well, dear soul, if you've stayed until this moment, I don't believe it was by accident. Perhaps this message found you because your heart needed this reminder today. Well, before you leave, don't let these words become just another message you heard. Let them become a promise you carry with you. Well, right now, place your hand over your heart and boldly declare, I am chosen. I am deeply loved. I am not forgotten. God is working behind the scenes for me. Well, my love is blessed, my future is secure, and my story is still being written by His faithful hands. Say it again, and then say it one more time. Well, Let every word silence the fear you've carried, heal the wounds no one else can see, and awaken the faith that has been waiting inside you. Well, even when you cannot see God moving, He is already arranging what your eyes have not yet witnessed. If this message spoke directly to your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Well, share it with someone you love. Somewhere, someone is quietly crying, wondering if anyone sees their pain, questioning whether God has forgotten them. Well, your share could be the answer to the prayer they've been whispering in the dark. One message can restore hope. One act of kindness can change a life forever. Well, and if the Holy Spirit places it on your heart to support this ministry, you can do so through a super thanks. Well, whether it's $5, $10, $20, or whatever God leads you to give, every offering becomes part of bringing hope, encouragement, and God's love to people across the world who desperately need to hear that they are not alone. Well, may the Lord bless your generosity beyond anything you could imagine. Well, may He restore what you've lost, open doors no one can shut, and fill your home with His peace and answer the prayers you've been carrying in silence. Well, thank you for standing with us as we continue sharing God's love, lifting broken hearts, and building a faith-filled family that reminds the world that God's promises never fail. Well, God bless you, and never forget this truth. Heaven knows your name, God sees every tear, and your greatest testimony is still ahead. Well, you are not too much. You are exactly enough for someone who can handle you. Let's start with something that probably nobody has said to you quite the way it needs to be said. Well, you are genuinely, specifically, unmistakably impressive. Not in the performative way that people describe others when they're trying to be encouraging. In the real way. Well, the kind that other people feel when they're in your presence before they can articulate what they're feeling. A quality to your energy, a groundedness, well, a self-possession that communicates without saying a word. This person knows who they are. Well, your discipline, your independence, the way you move through the world with a sense of self that doesn't require constant maintenance or external validation. People see it. They are drawn to it. Well, they talk about it. And then you hold them accountable for something. And suddenly, inexplicably, you're the problem. Well, the pattern you know too well. You have seen this happen enough times that it probably doesn't shock you anymore. Well, it still stings. Maybe it would be strange if it didn't, but it no longer surprises you. Well, the admiration that was so freely given flips with a speed that would be almost impressive if it weren't so exhausting. Well, everything they loved about you, the strength, the directness, the refusal to pretend things are fine when they're not, suddenly gets relabeled. You were confident and now you're aggressive. Well, you were direct, and now you're too much. Well, you called something out, said the true thing in the clear and specific way you have of saying true things, and now they're looking at you like you've become someone they don't recognize. Well, but you didn't become someone else. You simply became inconvenient. The strength they celebrated was fine as long as it was never pointed at them. Well, and here is the part that is worth sitting with, because it is actually important that relabeling says absolutely nothing about you. It says everything about the person doing it. Well, because what they are experiencing, the discomfort, the sudden reinterpretation of your qualities as flaws, is not a genuine assessment of who you are. Well, it is the specific discomfort of someone who was benefiting from your tolerance and did not enjoy the moment when that tolerance ran its natural course. You are not crazy. You are clear. And for people who have been operating in comfortable ambiguity, clarity can feel like an attack. The mirror you cannot help being there is something you do that you may not be fully aware of, or that you are aware of but have never had articulated back to you in a way that makes complete sense. You make people see themselves, not intentionally most of the time, not as a strategy or a power move, simply as a natural consequence of being someone who is deeply honest and deeply present. When you are in a relationship with someone, romantic or otherwise, your own integrity creates a kind of reflective surface. The way you show up becomes, by contrast, a mirror for how they show up. Full day. The consistency you bring makes their inconsistencies more visible. The honesty you practice makes their evasions more apparent. Full day. This is deeply uncomfortable for people who are not living in alignment with their own values. Full day. Who are carrying things they haven't dealt with, saying things they don't mean, behaving in ways they would not be proud of if they had to look at them clearly. And then you come along, full day, living out loud, calling things what they are, not performing okayness when things aren't okay. And the reflection that creates is not always something people are ready to look at. Full day. This is why your presence makes certain people nervous before you have done anything at all. Full day. They can feel, without knowing why, that comfortable self-deception will be harder to maintain in your vicinity. That things they have been avoiding will have a harder time staying avoided. Full day. You are a walking invitation to honesty, and not everyone has RSVP'd yet. Full day. The grace you give before the storm here is where the story becomes more nuanced and more important to name clearly. Full day. Because it is one of the most specific things about how you navigate relationships. Full day. You are not reactive. Full day. This is crucial to understand. Full day. Because the version of you that people eventually encounter when patience has expired is so different from the baseline version that people who only know the latter might not believe the former beautiful day existed. Beautiful day, your baseline is grace, genuine, considered, generous grace. Beautiful day. You understand that people are imperfect, not as a platitude, but as a lived, practiced, genuine acceptance of the fact that the people you love are going to mess up sometimes. Beautiful day. And that those mistakes deserve room. Beautiful day. You give that room, probably more than you should sometimes, probably to people who haven't fully earned the benefit of the doubt you extend. Beautiful day. Because that is who you are at baseline, someone who leads with faith in people's capacity to do better. You give second chances. You give third chances. Beautiful day. You absorb things that would have broken the patience of people with less capacity for forgiveness. Beautiful day. And you do it not out of weakness, but out of a genuine and somewhat inconvenient belief that people deserve the opportunity to grow. Beautiful day. And then they don't grow. Or they use the room you gave them to do more of what they were doing. Or they mistake your patience for permission. Beautiful day. And something in you, not dramatic, not performative, but absolute, makes a decision, and then you speak. Beautiful day. What it looks like when you finally do, when you reach that point, the one where the accumulation of overlooked things has finally exceeded what you're willing to carry. What comes out is not chaos. Beautiful day. It is not the uncontrolled explosion that people sometimes expect from anger. It is something more specific and, in its own way, more devastating. You know exactly what to say. Beautiful day. You have been watching, noticing, filing things away in the careful and attentive way that people with strong intuition tend to do. Not because you were building a case, beautiful day, but because you were paying attention, beautiful day. And paying attention means that when the moment comes, you have receipts. You have the specific, accurate, undeniable account of what happened, when it happened, and what it meant. Beautiful day. You do not argue to be dramatic. You argue to be heard. Beautiful day. And the precision with which you make your points, the clarity, the timing, the specific way you choose words that land, tends to leave people genuinely shaken. Not because you are cruel, beautiful day, because you are accurate. This is the part that surprises people who thought they understood you. The poise turns out to have teeth, beautiful day. The grace turns out to have been a choice, not an absence of response, beautiful day. And the gap between who they thought you were and who you actually are in that moment is sometimes enough to rearrange everything. The intuition that cannot be argued with, and then there is the part of you that operates entirely beneath the level of analysis and strategy, in a register that has nothing to do with what can be proven or demonstrated. Your intuition, the way you know things before you technically know them. The physical sensation somewhere in the chest or the gut or along the back that arrives before the evidence does and is almost never wrong. The dreams that are too specific to be coincidental. The moments of sudden, unasked for clarity, where the true shape of a situation becomes visible in an instant, without transition, without a logical chain of reasoning leading there. You have learned to trust this, or you are learning to. And the people around you, particularly the ones with something to hide, the ones who are not being entirely honest about who they are or what they want, can feel it. Before you say anything, before you ask any questions, there is something in how you carry yourself that makes dishonest people feel seen in a way they did not ask to be seen. They are right to be careful. You know more than they think you know. The deep realization here is the insight that lives at the very center of your particular experience. The one that, when fully received, transforms the whole story of being too much into something different. You were not built for people who need you to be less. You were built for people who are finally ready to be more. Every person who has looked at your directness and called it aggression, every person who received your accountability and called it drama, every person who benefited from your patience and then flinched when that patience had a limit. These are not people you failed to navigate correctly. These are people who were not in a position to meet you where you actually are. That is not your problem to solve. You are not the problem. Your strength, your intuition, your blunt honesty, your refusal to pretend your spiritual sensitivity, the specific way you hold people accountable with surgical precision. These are not flaws in need of correction. They are features. They are what makes you extraordinary, and they require someone equally extraordinary to be in relationship with. Not perfect, extraordinary. Someone who is honest enough that your clarity doesn't threaten them. Someone secure enough that your strength doesn't destabilize them. Someone real enough that your mirror doesn't show them something they can't bear to look at. What scared people cannot see? The people who label you difficult, intense, or crazy after being on the receiving end of your honesty are making a mistake that is worth naming directly. They are confusing accountability with attack. They are experiencing the discomfort of being seen clearly, of having their behavior named and held up for examination, and interpreting that discomfort as something you did to them rather than, something the truth did to them. You and I want you to hold this. You did not attack them. You simply refused to pretend, and for someone whose comfort depends on you pretending, that refusal feels like exactly what they call it. But that is their limitation, not yours. The right people, the ones who are doing their own honest work, who are not hiding from themselves or from others, who do not need you to maintain a comfortable fiction for their sake. Those people will not experience your clarity as a threat. They will experience it as relief, as the particular liberation that comes from being around someone who tells the truth, who notices things, who cannot be easily fooled, who calls things what they are. Those people will love exactly the version of you that scared the others away. You are exactly enough. In the end, after all of it, after the grace and the patience and the eventual inevitable honesty and the way certain people rearranged their understanding of you once they encountered alling of you, once they encountered all of it, here is what remains true. You are not too much. You have never been too much. You are specific. You are particular. You are the specific, particular kind of person that requires a specific, particular kind of relationship to truly flourish in. Not a diluted version of yourself in a relationship that can only accommodate part of you. The whole thing. The strength and the grace and the intuition and the occasional earned, entirely justified, perfectly articulated fury. All of it is you. And all of you is worth having for someone who is genuinely ready to have it. The ones who got scared, let them be scared. They were encountering something real and they did not know what to do with it. That is not your story. That is theirs. Your story is still being written. And the version of you that shows up fully, without apology, without dimming, without editing the parts that make certain people uncomfortable, that version is the one worth waiting for someone to be ready for. The wait, I promise you, is worth it.